Hi, this video goes along with Chapter 10 and it's designed to help you understand how staking claims in an argument fits with this class and what we're doing. Many of you have noticed that the PRE, or Persuasive Research Assignment, is the big assignment for this class. It's what we're working up to. But you may not understand how all the little assignments that we're doing are going to help you to reach that goal. And that's hopefully what this presentation will help you to see. First of all, we need to talk about how you write a PRE. What are the goals that we're working toward here? So let's go to our first little circle here. There are basically 5 steps in writing a persuasive research essay. First of all, you need to identify your interests so you know what you're going to write about. Then as you look at those identified interests, you're going to look for a problem or a goal. Next, you're going to turn that problem or goal into a research question. And then you're going to do research and identify claims that others have made about that area of research. And then finally, you're going to stake your own claim, and you're going to write and present your argument. Now, the good news at this point is that you don't have to do this all at once. This is a process. It takes a while to do all these steps, so we're going to talk about how that's going to happen throughout the semester. First of all, we've already done some things to help you identify your interests. We did some brainstorming. In the past, I've had students interested in all sorts of things. One of my students in the past was interested in using drama in the classroom as a strategy. He loved theater, he wanted to be a teacher, so he was interested in how those two might work together. Checking the news is also a good strategy to identify things that you're interested in. In the past, I had a student who was very concerned about the accidents that result from driving under the influence, or DUIs. And another thing to do is just talk and listen. Think about the things that are coming up in your everyday conversation. One example in my own life is relationships. All of my siblings right now are single, and so we're always talking about, dating and relationship advice and what's going on in people's lives. And so this is a big thing that comes up. And incidentally, there are a lot of interesting arguments related to relationships and how things work out. So, identifying interests. Hopefully you've been able to do that these last couple of weeks and get an idea of some of the things that you already care about and are already interested in. After you have identified your interests, the next thing is to find a problem or goal within that interest. So let's take theater education, for example, the thing that my one student was really interested in. Some problems that might arise in that area are that theater programs are not funded in many public schools, and it's pretty hard to get a job just exclusively as a drama teacher. Some goals might be that you want to help others see the value of drama in young people's lives and education. Those would be 2 ways to approach that topic. Another topic that we could look at, of course, is what my other student was interested in, DUIs. Obvious problems, people are dying, but also you might look specifically at penalties and fines. They don't seem to be enough to dissuade people from drinking and driving. You also might look at goals here again. We need to prevent drunk driving and stop deaths. How do we do that? How are we going to figure that out? And then romantic relationships, some problems that people discuss about romantic relationships. Some people say chivalry is dead. There's that quotation out there that nice guys finish last. A lot of people today are noticing that texting has influenced their relationship instead of having face-to-face conversations. And then goals. What are our goals with romantic relationships? Well, for most people, it's happy and healthy relationships for everyone who wants one. So, I've got these 3 topics. I've broken them down into some problems and goals. Then the next step, of course, is to turn these into a research question. And that involves focusing down on one specific problem or goal and asking a question about it. So for instance, with theater education, my question might be, how can we bring theater education into more public schools? With DUIs, I might wonder, what can we do to prevent or reduce DUIs? And with romantic relationships, I might want to focus in on that first question, is chivalry dead? And what could be done to revive it? Notice that with this last question, is chivalry dead, isn't enough of a question on its own because it's kind of just a yes or no question. I want to have my research question be open-ended, so that's why I had to add that extra part. What can be done to revive it? What can we do about it? That's more than just a yes or no question, and that's important in your research question. Once you have your research question finished, then it's time to do the research. And you need to, as you're doing the research, identify some others' claims. And if you've read the chapter on stasis, you know that there are many different kinds of claims. Claims about the facts or the definition of something. Claims that involve cause and effect. Claims that involve values and policy. All of these claims, by looking at them deeper and by digging into them, we'll be able to understand how to identify them in other readings over the next couple weeks. And these claims are really important because they help us to focus and formulate on our argument. They help us to decide what we really want to talk about in our argument, and they also help us to make the most effective argument for the audience we're trying to reach. So, let me give you some examples of what that looks like with our same three topics that we've been looking at so far. Let's start with high school history teachers. Let's say that my major overall claim is that high school history teachers specifically should incorporate drama into their classrooms. I've done a lot of research and it's helped me to focus on just high school and specifically history. That's where I see some opportunities. So as I'm going through my claims, I would look at facts and definition. I'd need to know, what is the current history curriculum? What does drama in the classroom look like? I'd want to make sure I had those things defined. Also with cause and effect, what happens if we bring drama into the classroom? Do students learn more? How does this affect the teacher's workload? Making sure that I look at how this is going to affect everyone involved will make my argument a lot stronger. Once I've looked at cause and effect, then I can look at values. What does drama add to the classroom? How does it affect students' learning, performance, and attitudes about school? These are all things that students, teachers, and parents tend to value. So they're things I definitely want to include. And then finally, policy. How will teachers learn to do this? What resources will they use? How will we address those who are skeptical about drama in the classroom? If I'm really going to implement this, I want to let people know that I have an idea of how it would actually work and how we'd overcome some obstacles to make it work. Okay, let's look at our next topic to give you some more ideas. One of my students, as she looked at DUIs, looked at here we go. One of my students looked at whether or not Utah should require all first-time DUI offenders to install an ignition interlock device. So obviously the first question with that is, what is an ignition interlock device and how does it work? You have to pretty much start there. Then looking at the cause and effect, what would happen if we put this law into effect tomorrow? What would happen if we don't? What does this entail? Values, is this punishment fair? Forcing people to install this machine in their car. Is that really fair? What values are at stake? Safety, innocent victims, responsibility, justice, mercy, etc. There's lots of things to consider there. Policy, again, how will this be implemented? Who will enforce it? Who will make sure the device doesn't malfunction, and who will fix it if it does? Really looking at all those questions about how is this going to work. Now, for this next part, we have another question. Another student in the past actually did her PRE on the subject of chivalry, and her argument was that young women should encourage chivalrous behavior in young men. What I would like you to do for the next minute or two is to go ahead and pause this video and see if you can think about some of those stasis points, some of those claims about facts and definition and cause and effect and values and policy, and see if you can come up with some of the things that you think would have to be covered in this area if you were going to write a paper on this topic. So take a couple minutes and write a couple things down. Okay, hopefully you've now got a couple things down, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I wrote. Some possible things that you could write for facts and definition might be, well, what is chivalry? What's the traditional definition? What's the modern definition? Is there even a difference? And then, especially, why are young women in a position to make a difference? You'd want to kind of explain, I think, why young women are the ones who are going to make that difference. Next, cause and effect. What caused chivalry to die in the first place? What's going to happen if young women do or don't encourage it? What are the short-term or long-term effects of chivalry on a relationship? Values. Why should young women care about chivalry? They seem to be the target audience here. You're trying to convince young women to care about this, and so you need to let them know why. Why is this value important? Why is chivalry important in relationships as a whole, and how does it affect all of our society? And then finally, we'd want to look at policy. And this is where we get more specific. So suppose we establish that chivalry is important, but what does that really look like? What specific things should young women do or not do to encourage chivalry? What resources are available to help with this quest? What should a young woman do if her efforts seem futile? These are all questions that could be asked in the policy section. And of course there are many more. I'm sure that you all came up with a lot of good ones. Alright, so once we have all of our claims and we've done all this research, then we have to sit down and write this paper and present our ideas to others. And that is the tough task, right? That's where we turn all this mining and work that we've done and kind of refine it into the gold, right? But what does it mean? What does it mean when we stake our claim? Well, it means a couple of things. First of all, it means that you've demonstrated ethos, and that means that you show that you're credible. You do this by citing a lot of strong sources, showing that you've done your homework. You also do this by the tone that you use, showing that you're being fair to everyone involved in the discussion. Second, you want to make clear, interesting connections between other experts' claims and research. As you're talking about experts out there, you don't just want to throw their names in there. You really want to show that you've thought about this. And this is where your critical thinking comes in, putting those ideas together. And then finally, and most importantly for this class, you're going to use what you know about pathos, logos, and kairos to appropriately persuade a specific audience. Pathos, remember, is that appeal to the emotion. What does this specific audience that you're trying to reach, what do they care about? Have you clued into that? Logos, looking at how you structure your essay and put things together. And then of course kairos, and that's another reason why you want to be checking the news so that you can see if your topic is recent and current and what are people saying about it right now, making sure that you're tying that in. So, to review, these are the things that we're going to be doing this semester. We're going to be identifying your interests. Within those interests, we're going to be finding a problem or goal. We're going to turn that problem or goal into a research question. We're going to do research and identify the claims that others have made, and eventually you're going to stake your own claim and write and present your argument. That's our whole goal. That's the whole journey that we're going on this semester. And along the way, there's a lot of small assignments that are going to help you to do that. Hopefully you've already seen that as far as identifying your interests, there have been some small assignments to help you do that. The whole purpose of the research journal, the reading and response, and all of those other little things are to help you to continue to go through this process, to identify problems or goals, and to help you to really clue in on finding those claims within your research. Now, as you have questions throughout the semester, don't hesitate to ask questions. But remember, if you start to get lost, go back to this video and look back through and make sure that you're on the right path. This video can give you a lot of clues for how to do it. And of course, you can also ask me because I'm your guide throughout the semester and I'm always happy to help. Thank you for listening.